50 years ago, this summer, a legend was born. Batman, the hooded, mysterious vigilante fighting a lone, ferocious battle against the forces of evil. Today, his comic books are a multi-billion-dollar industry, carried to every corner of the globe and translated into more than 40 languages. The recent story, The Dark Knight, has widened Batman's appeal to an ever-growing adult audience. And now the Cape Crusader of the Night is featured in one of the most spectacular movies ever made. Batman.
Hi. Bruce Wayne.
And what do you do for a living?
The Warner Brothers release has been brought to the screen by Cooper Peters, producers of this year's Oscar-winning Rain Man, John.
And we've worked with various different directors and various different writers over almost 9 years, Peter Guber and myself. But not until we met Tim Burton did we begin to really have all the pieces begin to fit.
And the other half of Guber Peters, Peter Guber.
The real question is that this was a chance to do a human hero, somebody who was from this planet and who, given the right circumstances, could become larger than life. And we were excited about that. So that was really the genesis of our excitement.
The reason Batman attracted me was I love extreme characters, and I love the idea of a man who dresses up like a bat versus a man who's literally turned into a clown.
Guber Peters recruited a blue-chip team to work with them and Tim Burton on the massive task of creating Gotham City. Production designer Anton First.
We tried to imagine what Gotham City was, and what we thought was an interesting way of looking at it was take New York, go back to the turn of the century of New York, and imagine what could have happened to New York if it had all gone wrong, taking the worst aspects of it. Like, for instance, the zoning they did in New York of stepping back the buildings to get light into the streets. So we thought we'd do the opposite. We would actually cantilever forward and get these oppressive canyons. So Tim's description of the city was that it was like hell had erupted through the pavements and carried on growing. And that becomes Gotham City.
This is the set of the old Gotham Cathedral, and it's about a 40-foot set of an 800-foot tall building. It's one of the taller buildings in Gotham, and sort of is the setting for the end of the film, with the Batwing versus the Joker.
Besides the clever tactics, Batman has some unique personal weapons of his own. Special effects ace, John Evans.
So this is some of the gadgets we've actually completed. There's still a lot more on the benches down in the workshop.
The Batarang, a custom-made boomerang with lethal points and edges. An individually designed spear gun with the capacity to fire tranquilizer darts. And a spring action reel and line.
See the thing, my dog? Grab it.
What?
Whatever you do, don't let go. The Batmobile became an interesting problem because which way did we go? We didn't want to put it in any particular period of time. What we wanted to do was just get brutal violence into it and all the intimidation that he comes out of his image.
The Batmobile, the turbo-boosted, cleanest, fastest automobile on Earth.
I'll just show you one of the many gags we have on this. There's this particular shot. We have racing towards a chemical plant.
We just went into pure expressionism with the car in the end, taking elements of the salt flat races of the 30s and the Stingrays of the 50s and putting this into a sort of final expressionist form, which hopefully sits in no period of time.
Fired from the Hulk guarantees 90-degree turns. No other vehicle. To match the superb talent behind the cameras, John Peters and Peter Guber had to find an all-star cast to play the leading roles. The result, Jack Nicholson as the Joker, Michael Keaton as Batman.
I thought it was really exciting to be able to have Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson pitted against each other in this duel for in a sense, Gotham City, because they're both very similar and both very explosive actors.
Jack is dead, my friend. You can call me Joker. And as you can see, I'm a lot happier.
Batman is a character that comes out at night. He's a real night person. And Michael Keaton was a less obvious choice. I mean, you look at the image in the comic book, and Michael is not, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's not a square-jawed, Hulk. With Michael, I could see him. Bottom line is, I could see him putting on a bat suit.
Nice outfit.
I think Kim Basinger is one of the most talented actresses that I've ever worked with.
And Kim
I don't know who you
Basinger
think
as
you
Vicky
are.
Vale.
You hurt me.
I know.
I
Look,
called you when I called you.
I know.
And you lied.
Well,
You lied to me about leaving town.
well, let me tell you why.
Let me tell you. You invited me out, we went to dinner. I thought we
Right.
felt something,
Well,
and I
if you give me a
trusted you,
chance
and
to-
I even slept with you. I can't believe I did
Well,
that. And then you
I-
wouldn't return my phone calls? You must be some kind of jerk.
Still drawing and drawing them in after 50 years is the New Yorker who created Batman when he was just 18, Bob Kane.
Believe it or not, Batman #1 is worth $20,000. So when my stockbroker calls me and says, shall I buy any more stock? I say, no, Charlie, buy comic books.
I feel a little drunk. And you're not anything.
Hey, one drink and I'm flying.
The image of the flying bat was inspired by Leonardo da Vinci. Peter Hoover explains Batman's sustaining appeal.
Created an interest in a character who was real, who was true, who was the ordinary man. Put on this outfit. Had a belief system. He believed he was special. He believed he could do anything. He believed he could create good in Gotham City.
And what does John Peters believe will be the appeal of this movie?
It's an emotional, wonderful story about a wonderful character, a love story, an adventure, and it's a wonderful movie that just makes you feel good at the end of it.
I mean, whether or not you know Batman from the comics, any form of the comics, television series, whatever, whether you haven't seen it at all, I think what you'll have is a very interesting, surprising action story with a bunch of weird characters running around. I mean, wow, what more could you want?
I have given a name to my pain, and it is Batman. Can somebody tell me what kind of a world we live in where a man dressed up as a bat gets all of my press?
After the birth of the comic book character comes a spectacular action-packed Goober Peters production from Warner Brothers, Batman.
Bruce Wayne.
And what do you do for a living?
Among the fans of the legendary hero were two men who considered the time was right for an epic Batman movie. The producers of the Academy Award-winning Rain Man, John Peters and Peter Goober.
Batman is a picture that has been a dream of mine and my partner Peter Goober's for many years. I mean, as a kid, he was someone who I always fantasized as being. Him and Elvis Presley were my two heroes, you know.
This past year has been the realization not only of a 10-year partnership, but of a project that was there at the inception. And so it's quite exciting.
Following hits like Flashdance, The Color Purple, and The Witches of Eastwick, Goober Peters now hired their biggest ever crew to man this vast and breathtaking production. 482 specialists were on the payroll, including professional sculptors. One of the greatest movie armies ever assembled was committed to telling the thrilling story of the Caped Crusader.
This is a movie that employed over 500 people. So there was a lot of work for all of us to do between the miniatures and the second unit and all the actors. When you have Jack Nicholson, Michael Keaton, and Kim Basinger in one movie, you know, you got your hands full.
You can call me Joker.
My life is really complex.
As John, who was on point on the project in London, would often say, he said, it's exciting to see what you've worked on for such a long period of time on the page really end up on the stage.
Because it's an emotional, wonderful story about a wonderful character, a love story, an adventure, and it's a wonderful movie that just makes you feel good at the end of it.
I feel a little drunk. And you're not anything.
Hey, one drink and I'm fine.
When you freak terrorizes, wait till they get a load of me.
Hollywood Studios, It's 3 a.m. on a freezing day. The 30-year-old director, Tim Burton, has 500 people under his command as he prepares another spectacular scene in a spectacular movie, Batman. Produced for Warner Brothers by John Peters and Peter Goober, Batman stars Jack Nicholson as the Joker, Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne, better known as Batman, and Kim Basinger as Vicky Vale. For Tim Burton, who gained a cult reputation with Pee-wee's Big Adventure and had an enormous international hit with Beetlejuice, also starring Michael Keaton, this is the challenge of a lifetime.
When I first started talking about like this street, and we started to think, well, how many extras do we need? I mean, you know, it could have been anywhere from 200 to 5,000, and I had no idea. I mean, one time I took a drawing and I started to draw little people in on it, so I could try to count them all to see how many people I might need, but that didn't really work. So it's a new thing for me.
Tim has to direct not just hundreds of extras and technicians, but also an all-star cast headed by Hollywood's most magnetic actor, Jack Nicholson as the Joker.
And now, folks, it's time for Who Do You Trust? Hubba, 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 money, money, money. Who do you trust?
Not until we met Tim Burton did we begin to really have all the pieces begin to fit. Peter and I always had a vision of this picture, which is not too far off from where we've ended up, although Tim came in and began to make all those pieces possible.
Kim Basinger plays ace photojournalist Vicky Vale.
Tim Burton I would work with any day, anytime he called me. Our relationship developed through a course of 4 months, and where he would just look at me across the room, and I know exactly what he was talking about, and he knew exactly what I was talking about, and that's invaluable, and it doesn't happen that often.
There's been many scripts written, many directors, great directors involved with the project. There was a moment in time when John and myself saw Tim Burton, saw his creativity, and the project began to gel. It began to take on a whole new life.
Michael Keaton agrees.
Good. Cut it.
Tim Burton doing something like this, not only because I think he's a good director, based on the movies he'd already done, but put Tim together with this, and I think, you know, you've got something real interesting.
Their close relationship was cemented on Beetlejuice.
On this size of movie, it's too hard of a job to just copy something, and you got to give it something new and hopefully keep in with the spirit of what you think it is. So I don't know how I would fulfill that obligation other than saying I hope that the spirit of why I love the image of Batman is there.
I'd like you to handle this operation personally.
Jack Nicholson.
Me?
You're a real nice girl, and I like you a lot, but for
Michael
right now,
Keaton.
shut up. I have something I have to tell you.
And Kim Basinger.
Val, where have you been? Are you all right? Do you want me to come on over?
No.
Star in the spectacular Goober Peters production for Warner Brothers.
If I bring something to you, can you make the
Batman.
evening edition?
With Robert Wall from Good Morning
Is it hot?
Vietnam.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Lieutenant, is there a 6-foot bat in Gotham City? And if so, is he on the police payroll? And if so, what's he pulling down? After taxes.
Nice outfit.
This is a movie that employed over 500 people. So there was a lot of work for all of us to do between the miniatures and the second unit and all the actors. When you have Jack Nicholson, Michael Keaton, and Kim Basinger in one movie, you know, you got your hands full.
And what number
Billy D. Williams from The Return of the Jedi is District Attorney Harvey Dent.
Any
And
officer
Pat
in this
Hingle,
city
whose career goes back to On the Waterfront
that
with
is
Marlon
proved
Brando is
to have
Commissioner
done anything
Gordon.
wrong is going to be out so fast he will not know what hit him.
Alfred the Butler is portrayed by the veteran English actor Michael Gough.
I'm relieved that you're home, sir. Miss Vale telephoned. She was rather concerned. I feel that there's a certain weight that lifts when she is here.
Alfred, why don't you marry her?
If Grissom knew about us.
Jerry Hall is Gotham's top model, Alicia.
Flatter yourself, Angel. He's a tired old man.
It's an important job. I need
Jack Palance is crime boss Carl Grissom.
you are my #1 guy.
It's exciting to see what you've worked on for such a long period of time on the page really end up on the stage. All the stars and the creativity and the production design people and the miniature people, that was the time to make the picture.
I mean, whether or not you know Batman from the comics, any form of the comics, television series, whatever, whether you haven't seen it at all, I think what you'll have is a very interesting, surprising action story with a bunch of weird characters running around. I mean, wow, what more could you want?
Hold on.
Get those wonderful toys.
That's the original story. What we really did is we attempted to create the beginning of the myth, so to speak, where you relive the experience of Batman seeing his parents murdered and what fortified him to drive on to dedicate his life towards setting things right. I think the fact that he was fought for the truth and was a defender of the people and was a character who by day was one way and by night had a whole other different style, and I loved the action and the kind of hard edge of the character. Because it's an emotional, wonderful story about a wonderful character, a love story, an adventure, and it's a wonderful movie that just makes you feel good at the end of it.
The lineage of Batman, of course, is 50 years. And the movie lineage is almost 10 years. It almost parallels our partnership, John and myself. It was one of the initial projects that were brought into the company way before there was even Goober Peters. There was Goober and there was Peters, but there wasn't Goober Peters. And we acquired the property with our own funds and began developing it. And as we moved along in our career and our company, it was one of the locomotives, one of the creative projects that we most believed in, that we felt would find its time and its moment to come alive. And this past year has been the realization not only of a 10-year partnership, but of a project that was there at the inception. And so it's quite exciting. Well, essentially a project that's of that scope and magnitude had to have all the elements. But the principal element that had to be there was the script. When all is said and done, with a fancy direction and a wonderful cinematography and terrific production design, what's on the screen is the script. And the script had been fashioned over a lengthy period of time. It had been tested against every possible method of examination. John and myself were Batman fanatics for many, many years, certainly during our childhood. We often talked about it. As a matter of fact, when Superman was being made, we were total aficionados of that, too. The real question is that this was a chance to do a human hero, somebody who was from this planet and who, given the right circumstances, could become larger than life. And we were excited about that. So that was really the genesis of our excitement.
The reason Batman attracted me was I love extreme characters, and I love the idea of a man who dresses up like a bat versus a man who's literally turned into a clown, you know. Two good characters there. It's always important to me with these kind of extreme characters to surround them in a setting, you know, which they belong. So I always like to think of sets as an extension of the characters. And you know, there are very few great movie cities, and you know, I think both Anton, the designer, and myself, we both so much don't want to. Looks like Blade Runner. It looks like this or that. You know, we wanted to make it a unique place, not make it too futuristic, not make it too period. You know, really jumble it up in the sense that. It could be any. It feels as if it's the present, and yet it could be any time. Jack is a very intuitive actor, and he gets into character, and he gets into character well before you start shooting, and. So that by the time he walks onto the set, he feels very clear and strong about the character. So when you're shooting, it's great because that's when you toy around with the levels of how broad to go. And I mean, there was always a question, how much do you laugh? You know, I mean, are people going to go nuts hearing this laugh all the time? So, we tried it always a couple of different ways. And since he's so strong with the character, you can play a bit. So it was quite fun, all of that.
The most interesting aspect may be, which is the reason the character has had such strong staying power, is the fact that he is not a superhero, that he is, in fact, a human being. the difference in a movement like this and a movement like this, in this kind of movie, the way it was lit, what it's supposed to mean the difference between those two movements could be huge. So it was a quick lesson in how to simply move your body, use your voice, pull things in just when you think you should maybe be larger. I had to quickly learn how to adjust to what the whole picture was. In this movie, I was at once a participant and a spectator all the time. You know, I was constantly, you know, I'd be watching things happen, and I watched very few dailies, but the few that I watched, I found myself saying, this is amazing, watching this movie, and then I realized, wait a minute, that's me in the movie. I kept forgetting I was actually in the movie, you know.
Usually they've just flown into the movie. Do you know what I mean? And you don't really know much about my character. So yeah, she's a photographer, and she has a purpose, and she's in Gotham to learn about bats. You know, so yeah, I have a purpose. I have she has a beginning and a background, and you know where she came from, and you know eventually where she's going to end up. So yeah, she was a lady with a purpose, and she's spunky and feisty and determined to get what she wants, and she's a great character. I really enjoyed her every day, waking up and having to, you know, discover what mess she and Batman were going to get into today, you know, or what she would have to deal with as far as the Joker and all those menacing characters, what all they had to offer. With any day, any time he called me, any day of the, I'd start tomorrow morning on a film that if he had something to do with it, with never having read it, because I came in on this rather late, and I met him, and instantly the two of us sort of took off flying together, like two bats, okay? Batman is not. It's a psychological drama. I'm really taking the words out of Tim Burton's mouth, because it really is the Phantom of the Opera of the 80s. It's three psychological characters who all somehow need each other at this time and purpose in life. And I think the audiences are in for a huge surprise, because it's a drama with a lot of comedy, and I think you'll find yourself inside one character or another. It's just who.
I mean, you watch him in Clean and Sober, and you're seeing a powerful performance. And I think the question between Bruce Wayne and you got to talk about Bruce Wayne. See, I think it's a mistake to talk about Batman. I think you have to talk about Bruce Wayne, who is the character. Bruce Wayne is a guy who he's playing with, as it's been explained, too much on his plate. His mind's in 1,000 ways. He can't focus. He's taking care of this, and the other. He's got a mind here, and he's all over the place until it comes to crime, and then it's like everything comes to here, and it's like right there, and it's like he may be all over the place, but when it comes to that, he has few words. It's like traditional hero. It's like, no, now, I'm after you. It's almost like Make My Day.
Bruce Wayne.
And what do you do for a living?
Lieutenant, is there a 6-foot bat in Gotham City?
Nice outfit.
You look fine.
I didn't ask. I have given a name to my pain.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
Where did you get those wonderful toys?
My life is really complex.
Winged freak terrorizes. Wait till they get a load of me.
See if you can get up on the catwalk on that side. You take that side. Be careful. Be very careful.
Zeke! Let him go! Or I'll do Gordon!
Nice outfit. Let's make up. Have a little whiff of my posy. Hold on. Where does he get those wonderful toys?
Come to me.
An awful lot of stairs in this place. My feet are killing me. Okay. Whoa. I feel a little drunk. And you're not anything.
Hey, one drink and I'm flying.
Why are you afraid of flying?
You know, over there, you would never. Yeah, I think I like that better. A little bit bigger than me, John. Yeah, and go for it, and go for it, and go for it, and you can build it quicker and quicker as he gets over to the car. Right. I mean, there's nothing really that you can do. It's ba 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 ba, and by the time you get over there, it's like he's driving away. Right. And that's when you finally see this guy.
So I wonder if I should go for the door.
Yeah, I mean, you can go for it.
Go! Cut. One of your ears back there. I'm on the wing. You won it. Governor, we're going right away. I'll complete the effects.
Okay, let's go right away.
Do the cat.
Is he going to work this time, Kevin? How is
touch your smoke, please, guys. Then we shoot next time. Okay.